Hello, I'm Mark Baer. You're at the Museum of Monterey. Welcome to MUSE. My guest, City Manager Michael McCarthy.
Thanks, Mark.
Good morning, and let's get right to it.
Sure.
So first of all, you're filling Fred Muir's shoes. You have big shoes.
I do.
This is a big job, and I think the first thing that I want to talk about is what does the city manager do, just so people have some sense of what we're talking about.
Well, first on Fred, he was a mentor and a friend, and he helped me and get prepared for the position. And I still talk to him with some regularity, so I have his support, and I'm very appreciative to Fred always for that. The role of the city manager, there's a variety of roles. I think the main one is to make sure that the daily operations of the city move as they should. We have a large workforce, 420 permanent employees, a number of part-time employees as well, and the city manager has to oversee the operations of the city. In addition, the city manager works with the council to ensure that the council has a vision and a strategic set of priorities for the city going forward, and so I work with the council quite a bit on that. The council gives us broad direction, and it's my role to implement their direction.
And so what's unusual in your case is you've been here, what I believe, 14 years?
Just about 13, yes, sir.
13 years. You've worked inside this, so you know you're not coming in as an outsider. You have deep knowledge within. You've had a lot of time to prepare for this.
Well, I do. I came through the human resources side of things, so I know the people side of the job. I've been with the city, like you said, for 13 years now, and so I know the ins and outs of the city very well. But I'll tell you, I'm still learning every day. There's a lot to learn, and this is such a diverse city that it's a complex city for only 30,000, but the operations are so varied that I'm learning every day, and it's exciting for me every day. I love coming to work, and it's a challenge, but it's going very well.
So one of the things that really interested me is that back in Washington you were a police officer.
I was, yeah.
Sometime. So that has to inform. That has to be a skill and a knowledge, a street knowledge that really gives you an advantage knowing what goes on in all the levels.
I think it helped. I mean, I understand when I talk with our safety, police and fire, I have a better knowledge than maybe another city manager candidate would have had, and I think that I understand what they have to do on a day-to-day basis. It gives me a different perspective than maybe some others have, and it's been helpful. And in addition to that, I have a background in banking, so I understand the finances a bit better than maybe some others would, and so the background I have has really been helpful for these last few months as city manager.
Okay, let's talk about just, I guess the one thing everybody's curious about is the budgetary issues that you have to deal with. Let's talk about that, and then we'll spread out a little bit.
I get that question almost every day. Yeah. Our budget we just passed is over $108 million. That's a lot of money. We had to deal with state takeaways for some time. We think those are curbed. Our economy is on the rebound now. We're doing well, but we have a lot of expenses and a lot of services that we provide that we have to be careful to continue to provide the right services for the public and for the guests and the residents and the businesses. We were looking at $1 million shortfall this fiscal year. We were able to find ways to curb it. We're looking at shortfall next year, but we'll curb that as well. So we're going forward, we're providing the essential services, and I think we're doing a great job.
What's your personal vision? I mean, where do you see the city's future?
Yeah, well, I think we have to remind ourselves that we have to continue to find ways to raise money so we can provide the essential services. And one of the ways to do that is through commerce and through business. And so if we can find ways to attract new businesses and keep our current businesses downtown, North Fremont, Lighthouse, Cannery Row, we need to do that. And we are doing that. So I think our vision is to ensure the current success of our current businesses, create incentives and show Monterey as the way where people want to come. That's one part of it. Also, we want to make sure that it's visitor friendly. We rely on the tourism dollars, so that means we have to provide services that visitors expect, and we have to provide a clean community and a safe community, and I think we're doing that, and we're striving to get better in all those areas. One
of the things that I'm interested here is the cultural institutions because of my involvement with the museum and my involvement also with the other museums and with organizations like Historic Monterey.
You bet.
And so we see the value of our culture, we see the value of our history, we see the value of our just our geography here as being a here particularly as oceanic sciences as being a center to have that conversation about oceanic issues here. And we're all very, very stressed.
Of course.
You know, so what, one of the ideas that was floated to me just recently is, you know, again, how are we going to work with the city, A, and B, if we do work with the city, how are we going to, in other words, could we put all of these institutions, the Art Museum, the Museum of Monterey, things like the Museum, the aquarium is kind of a standalone,
Sure.
but I believe Steinbeck on some level is coming to Cannery Row. I'm not sure where that happens, what CSUMB is going to do. But the idea is, how do we work as a unit, possibly a single oversight board, possibly a spreading around of the donor dollars, because we're all, what's happening now is that we're all going through a very limited...
dollars are tight.
The dollars are tight, and culture is not... Again, I'm going to give my money to the Boys and Girls Club first.
Right.
You know, because in terms of, I'm not going to give my money to culture just because of the hierarchy of need. So this is, however, given that if your museums can't meet the standards of excellence that are necessary here, it's going to be problematic for the entire community. And you know, so we're talking about things like how do we have like one pass that we could go around? How do we have shuttle to take a visitor? In other words, always the goal has been get the tourists to stay one more night.
Right, of course.
You know, that has an amplifier effect on the economy here.
Well, it's such a great question, and I think what you're talking about is a potential of a shared service of some sort.
Yes.
The city has a lot of experience in shared services. We do that for fire, as a matter of fact. We have one fire chief, and our fire department provides service to Pacific Grove, to Carmel, to Sand City, to the airport, to the military. So we have the model in place. We understand how to do it properly. We see the museum, we see all the museums here as such an integral partner with Monterey that we need to ensure that the success of your organizations continue. So I'm very open to finding a way to get us all working together and all on the same page. It makes so much sense, and I'm glad you brought it up, because I think that would be a priority for the city moving forward, and I'll certainly bring that to the council when the time's right. But if we can provide a way in which we can have similar direction and similar goals for all these variety of organizations, I think that's the path forward.
Now, one of the things that we're, you know, again, we try not to be redundant with what the Art Museum does. We try to find a different mission and go after a different donor than their dollar, different from the Museum, different, you know, and all these institutions are trying to create their own niche so that we can have this cohabitation. But it's very, very tough because there's just the same people you bump into every fundraiser, and we don't want it to get to a crisis. It's better to deal with an issue before it becomes a crisis.
Oh, I agree.
And then to work hand in glove with that, how do we, let's talk a little bit about the new downtown plan and how that's going to work, and where are we with that?
Well, the downtown specific plan was approved earlier by the council, and it's already paying dividends. We have a new brewery downtown that followed the guidelines of the downtown specific plan. The Golden State Theater is under new ownership, and I understand that's doing very well already. So the downtown specific plan is starting its implementation. If we can integrate some of the assets from the variety of museums we have with the city and introduce public art downtown, I think that's a component that I'd like to explore further. So we're starting the implementation. The businesses are on board. We're seeing a revival of downtown, especially when the conference center is rebuilt in the next couple of years. It's really going to explode down there, and if we can make sure that the museums are a part of that, that makes all the sense in the world.
And again, we want to start this process before.
Correct.
You know, we don't want to come in at a crisis and then.
We don't want to start the planning halfway done.
Yeah, exactly. And then what are some of the other things that you're real excited about right now?
Well, I'll tell you, the conference center with a $32 million project ahead of us is exciting. We know that's going to bring dividends downtown. I'm excited about a variety of things. The North Fremont specific plan is in place now, and I think that once we get the buy-in from more businesses and residents there, and that's what we need to do, is make sure the residents are on board with the plan. Then we can start implementation down there when they're ready. The lighthouse plan is interesting. The waterfront master plan has been a bit controversial. We're not in a hurry, but I think there's a future there, and we need to make sure that the residents and the businesses are on board there. There's a lot of plans in place. The implementation of some of those plans are starting. So there's a lot of excitement in the city, all throughout the city, not just downtown, but in the neighborhoods as well.
Okay, now one of the things that I'm going to want to be talking to you about is getting our iNet hooked up.
Good.
We're part of that grid,
Yes.
and we've been working with Access Monterey Peninsula to get cameras installed within our theater and to hook to the iNet, to broadcast to the community what goes on here, but also to what we've talked about here, which I haven't talked to you about yet, is the idea of becoming what we call a center of excellence. And this is based upon the legacy of the TED conference,
Sure.
which just started at Portola Plaza. I think, TED was here, TED left us, but TED is a big legacy here. And so anything that, again, we're not going to be doing 17-minute videos, we don't want to do the TED thing,
Right.
but the idea of local ideas with global implications.
Sure.
And again, using this museum space as the place where our people from CSUMB, from MUSE, from Naval Postgraduates, from our various other places that are a bit stovepiped,
Right.
Be that place where people come together and meet each other.
I couldn't agree more.
So that's one of the things that we're trying to get here, because again, I believe people, we have such a special region. People are
Right.
here by choice, many people.
Sure.
It's a fabulous place to live. It's not only beautiful, but you will meet some of the most amazing people in the world, and they're very interested in meeting each other.
Right.
And it's also, I feel that the country is looking to, we have a bit of Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is an artificial construct, so that's part of us. We have Salinas Valley, which is this amazing place.
Right.
And so I believe much of the country is looking to our area to be the problem solvers.
Oh, I agree. And to speak to your iNet question, I'm very supportive of hooking it up here, however we can, and the city will be supportive of that.
Okay.
You have an incredible facility here. Also, you have an incredible location, so we need to use that as much as possible. It's a benefit to not only our residents, but to the region in general, and however we can do to support that, we're going to do that.
That would be great. And just like I say, just working with the city and everybody, seeing that the only thing that works in a small town is a cooperative model.
Absolutely.
You can't be competing. You can't be competing against each other.
Sure.
There's not a need to do that, and it's not efficient.
Right.
So then, just as we're going to end today, what is it that you have a chance to tell the audience? What is it that they don't know about you that they need to know?
Well, I didn't grow up in Monterey. My wife grew up here, so I feel close to the city already. My parents honeymooned here back in the 40s, and so they brought me down as a small kid. So I feel attached to this community even though I didn't grow up here. So I consider this home. I'm never going to leave Monterey, and it's really an honor just to work for the city and be the city manager. It's a dream job for me, and I hope to have it as long as they'll have me. So I'm very excited to be here.
And then one last thing,
Yes, sir.
let's talk a little bit about your team, because you've got a really, you're not a man alone. You've got a good team working with you.
We do. We've assembled a team of really incredible people. We have our assistant city manager Hans Uslar, has been with the city almost 20 years. We just hired Dino Pick from the DLI. He's now overseeing public works and has a strong military background that's helpful for this community. We hired a new finance director. We hired a new library director. Both are excellent. We stole them from other communities, and we're lucky. We add that to our existing staff, which has proven to be a successful team and a mix, and I couldn't be more excited about the group that we have here.
Pleasure.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Yeah, real pleasure.
You're watching MUSE. We'll be right back in a moment.